keep on moving. Lord, I gotta get on down.
Good morning, everyone. I'm in Concord, Massachusetts, and I'm going to go to visit a couple places today, and I'll show you all the cool stuff I find. I drove by this place. I'm pretty sure this is where the battle began, here in Concord. We're going to go check out a little marker across the street. Let's go. Sign here, it says, near here is a buried British soldier, April 19th, 1775. So, British came up from Boston and wanted to confiscate weapons from the local militias, because I guess they were getting sus. So here it says, Miriam's Corner, the British troops retreating from the Old North Bridge were here attacked in flank by the men of Concord and neighboring towns, and driven under a hot fire to Charlestown. This is the beginning of the Revolutionary War. Hostilities. It's an armed conflict. It was a long time coming. If you read the long history of it. So yeah, there's this trail here. Battle Road Trail. And I'm at the top at Concord, so we're gonna go down towards Lexington and continue the story. Paul Revere warned the troops that the British regulars were on the way, so they were able to take all the weapons out, get them to a safe place. Here's a story from the British account. Immediately as we descended the hill into the road, the rebels began a brisk fire, but at so great a distance it was without effect. But as they kept marching nearer, when the grenadiers found them within shot, they returned their fire. It then became a general firing upon us from all quarters. As the British retreated, they were shot at the whole way back to Boston. A lot happened that day, so I'll try to not be confusing. Got a nice shady spot. So this is where April 19th there's clashes, 1775. 700 British left Boston to get the military supplies stockpiled in Concord. The alarm riders did what they did. The militia assembled. And then at Lexington Green at 5 a.m. and Concord's North Bridge at 9:30 a.m. fighting escalated all along this road. Nearly 4,000 colonists unleashed an incessant fire upon the British. At the end of the day, the colonists surrounded and laid siege to Boston. So we're gonna go for a little bike ride. I think it's about 4 or 5 miles. Let's go. Get hot one. What this sounds like? Sounds like colonists are having a party. They're having a great time. Happy wild turkey. Big one. Burp, burp, burp. So this place has been preserved. So these farm fields are still here, just the way they were back then. Beautiful. This was the site. Some pretty vicious fighting. These colonists, they just wanted to get right in front of them. So they came running through here. Bike, yeah. Okay. Alright, I'm thinking that this was some kind of hay barn behind me. If you remember at the Fox Chase Farm, there was that ramp that goes up. Just like this. You can see down in there, there's all structure. It's gonna be pretty hot today, about 91-degree high here in Boston. A little heat wave going on. I hear they got water fountains along the way, so we'll be all good. Yeah, these signs are so tarnished. Probably from the winter, but they gotta get fixed. I couldn't read that one, or the one before this. No problem, just reprint that. So the meadow I just came through was there. That's where the British came through, but the Americans were over here behind this stone wall, up the hill in the trees. And that's where they ran up and waited and ambushed. From here over to my left with the clearing. Some of the most intense fighting on April 19th, 1775 happened in this area. This site later became known as Bloody Angle. Most of the 1700s battle road landscape was open farmland, but this stretch of road had woods and bends, which allowed the colonists to set up an ambush. Upon our ascending the height to the road, said British Lieutenant Sutherland, the colonists gave us a heavy fire, but some shot from the left hand drew my attention that way when I saw a much larger body drawn up to my left. So they had to retreat 16 miles. Here are British soldiers buried. Their mortal remains are here. So I just turned left there. So this must be the angle. You can see that. Basically I made a sharp left. And it does look like a 60% angle. Joseph Mason's house, circa 1691. Gone, I guess. I really want to get them.
Did you go to the Renaissance?
Look at this fence. Wonderful. Fence wall. Look at this house. It's so perfect. Looks like it's made out of cedar or something. I love it. It's a lot of bricks. Chimney shelter. Here a witness says the king's men marched up the road in fine order, and bayonets glistened like waving grain in the sunlight. So basically they moved through here, flankers on each side, rear guard, and people going ahead to spot ambush. But basically, from these British accounts I'm reading, they know they're surrounded, and they're trying to get out. Just thinking maybe they should have built a fort right then and there. Captain William Smith's house. It's quite nice. Probably gets a little hot. Though it is New England. It's quite nice. Oh, it's old. Circa 1692. Probably rebuilt. You know how it goes. I'm standing in the spot where Paul Revere's midnight ride was abruptly came to an end. It's abruptly brought to an end, right? So he was riding around, and basically some Brits seen him. I guess they recognized him. Let me read these. On the old Concord road, as it then was, ended the midnight ride of Paul Revere. He had, at about 2 o'clock of the morning of April 19, 1775, the night being clear and the moon in its third quarter, got thus far on his way from Lexington to Concord, alarming the inhabitants as he went, when he and his companions, William Dawes of Boston, Dr. Samuel Prescott of Concord, were suddenly halted by a British patrol who had stationed themselves at this bend of the road. Dawes, turning back, made his escape. Prescott, clearing the stone wall and following a path known to him through the low ground, regained the highway at a point further on and gave the alarm at Concord. Revere tried to reach the neighboring wood, but was intercepted by a party of officers accompanying the patrol, detained and kept in arrest. Presently he was carried by the patrol back to Lexington, there released, and that morning joined Hancock and Adams. 3 men of the Lexington, Sanderson, Brown, and Loring, stopped at an earlier hour of the night by the same patrol, were also taken back with Revere. And then what? Yeah, the reason I read that is because it's getting really faded. Samuel Prescott, he was the one that got the message through Concord. Great success. Yeah, he got put under arrest. Here's the story here. It says Revere was questioned, held for a while, then released by the British officers after they confiscated his horse. Revere walked back to Lexington in time to hear the gunfire at dawn of the town common. Wow. First casualty, Josiah. He ran outside, asked if there was news of British officers, but they were British officers. Drew his sword and wounded Josiah across the head, thus making him the first casualty of the American Revolution. Basically, if you don't have speed, the tire just wants to do what it wants. Right here in front of me is where the Second Battle of Lexington, it was Parker's Revenge, took place.
How can fewer than 100 farmers turned soldiers protect their homes against a professional army several times their number? In the early morning of April 19, 1775, Captain John Parker and the men of the Lexington Militia Company faced this exact dilemma. They assembled on the town green to face British troops approaching from Boston. It is doubtful that any of them were thinking about trying to stop the British by force of arms. But all did not go as they might have hoped. According to Captain Parker,
upon their sudden approach, I immediately ordered our militia to disperse and not to fire. Immediately, said troops made their appearance and rushed furiously. fired upon and killed 8 of our party without receiving any provocation from us.
In a matter of minutes, the town of Lexington had been dealt a heavy blow. Friends, neighbors, and relatives, fathers, sons, and brothers were shot down in full view of their stunned families. Despite their losses, the Lexington Militia Company, led by Captain John Parker, went back into the fight. Marching from the center of Lexington, they would have arrived in this area near the Lincoln Town line by noon. At just about the same time, the British regulars began their return march from Concord, 7 miles to the west. Parker positioned his men high on the ridge and took cover behind boulders and trees. From their vantage point, they could see and hear the approach of the British forces. As the British column came into view, about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, flankers were dispatched into the fields to the left and right of the Bay Road to protect the column. As the flankers cleared the Nelson farmyard and crossed the seat beyond Nelson Bridge, Parker's men fired a fierce volley from not more than 40 yards away, turned, and disappeared over the ridge to continue the fight further down the road. Parker and his men were back into the fight.
That was really informative. Wow. It's my first time in Boston, so I'm stopping at everything I see. It's getting late, I think, so I gotta keep going. We're gonna see it all. Here it says, the enemy were then rising and passing over Fisk's Hill. The officer mounted on an elegant horse with a drawn sword in his hand was riding backwards and forwards, commanding and urging on the British troops. Some Americans behind a pile of rails raised their guns and fired with deadly effect. The officer fell and the horse took fright, leaped the wall and ran directly toward those who had killed his rider. The enemy discharged their musketry in that direction, but their fire took no effect. All the hills on each side of us were covered with rebels, so that they kept the road always lined and a very hot fire on us without intermission. Wow. This man, James, met a British soldier who raising his gun said, "You're a dead man." "And so are you," replied. They were both fired. The soldier was instantly killed, and Hayward mortally wounded. Wow. That's insane. He said, "You're a dead man," and he said, "So are you." I'm here at an obelisk from 1799. This is Lexington Green. Hawks are hungry today. You can hear them. So here it says the names of the men that fell here. Robert, Johannes, Samuel, Jonathan, Isaac, Caleb, John of Lexington, and Asahel Porter of Woburn. Can you imagine? Heart was probably pounding that day. Lots of hearts pounding. What are you to do, right? They're getting taxed. and impressed. I'm in Lexington now. It's a small little farming town. And the redcoats came here to try to crush. Don't back down. In the words of Johnny Cash. You can see the tavern on the right, and the white building straight ahead.
Yeah, there's also a visitor center. Oh, yeah, we're gonna go there.
Tavern's right here.
Tells me there's hives around here within. They can fly their average range of food, depending on how scarce it is, which is right now.
Yeah,
They can go 3 miles. If they're real hot up, they'll go about 5 miles.
from their house.
Yep.
So they're probably in the woods somewhere.
Someone could have a hive around. There could be a wood.
Oh,
there could
yeah.
be a hive in a tree in the woods. It's hard to say. It'd be cool to put a camera on, and some people have these wild cameras.
Yeah.
Just saw one of these back home for the Battle of Germantown. Lafayette was received. This painting is of Battle of Monmouth, New Jersey.
Have you guys seen that?
Okay, here's the new plan. Camera's dying, so we're gonna head back. Plus, the seat is starting to tear me up. So we're gonna head back to the car. And then I think we're gonna go play disc golf. Charge up the camera a little bit. Just 6 miles up the hill. Didn't catch this, but it says this bluff was used as a rallying point by the British. After a sharp fight, they retreated to Fist Kill, from which they were driven in great confusion. Pulled over because of these strange flowers. Looks like some kind of a sumac. We're ripping through. We got places to see. So today's Sunday, and I have a week off of work, so you're about to find out what that looks like. passing by where all was captured and then released. Interesting, right?
Make my decision. You can keep your opinion. I'm just crawling on the wise man communion. Thank you, Lord, for what you've done for me. Thank you, Lord, for what you're doing now. Thank you, Lord, for every little thing.
We're coming back up on the angle. Show you guys from this angle. Basically, it takes a sharp right here. This was like a choke point, I suppose. Not fun for those guys. Camera's about to die. Bring you back in a minute. Getting a nice downhill ride the way back. A downhill ride through shaded woods. Paradise, my friends. This is nice. Made it back to the car. We're gonna do a live camera battery pop in. 2%. We're gonna take our DJI battery pack, plug it right in. Bam. We're charging. Now there's a bridge, North Bridge, that's where Battle of Concord happened. It's up that way. I'm going to try to get over there with this battery pack. That's somewhere called the Orchard House. They have lots of fruit trees out. Look at this barn. It's like a Victorian style barn. Really cool. Little Concord. Nice little town. Headed to the site of the Battle of Concord at the bridge.
And there was General Washington on a snow white charger. He looked as big as Walter, some said he looked much larger. Yankee Doodle, keep it up, Yankee Doodle dandy. My find the
Pretty sure
music
right where I'm
and the
standing.
step, and with the girls be handy.
Let's go check out the American side.
Yankee
Yeah, so-
Doodle went to town
not really
riding
where-
on a pony, stuck a feather in his hat
Started out.
and called it macaroni.
And you know
Yankee
the rest.
Doodle, keep it up.
Rest is history.
Yankee Doodle dandy.
This is a piece of the original bridge. It's old. It's really cool. I'm glad I came here. Those guys had a tough decision to make. Fire. Kind of sausage in a slice. $8. Let's go. This pizza's crazy. This here is the site of the First Continental Congress. John Hancock as president. Really cool.